Today we'll study sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Sexual reproduction occurs due to the participation of the male and the female parts of the flowering plants. First we'll summarize the male part of the first we'll summarize the male part of the flower and the male part of the flower consists of androecium, which is the reproductive wall of the flower, and its individual member is stamen, which consists of anther. And anther is also known anther's characteristic feature is tetrasporangiate because it has four sporangias, one, two, three, and four. Therefore, it is known as tetrasporangiate, and it is also known as bilobed because it has two lobes, as we can see here. Each microsporangium consists of MMC, micro mother cells. A microsporangium is also known as locule, pollen chamber, pollen sac, etc. etc. Now we'll see how the microspore mother cells are diploid in nature, and they occur by two processes: mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis has two diploid cells, and the MMC will be formed there. But here we'll only focus on the meiosis part of it. Meiosis part of it. Anther produces pollen grains by microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis means production of micro mother cells. Uh, Genesis means production, and microspore the production of micro mother cells. We saw that there were four microsporangiums in the anther, and now when they get matured, they get fused. Therefore it is known as dithecous because it has two thecas. And when it is dithecous, it cannot be bilobed, and vice versa. Now we'll take a look at the structure of the anther. Anther, it has four layers. The first outermost layer is the epidermis. The second layer is the endothecium. The third layer is the dotted part surrounding the microsporangium, uh, uh, which is known as middle layers. Middle layers are multi-layered, and the fourth layer is the one surrounding the microsporangium, the outer layer of the microsporangium. Each microsporangium has a tapetum, which is the fourth layer of the structure. Uh, the tapetum The tapetum is the nutritive layer of the anther of the microsporangium. It provides nourishment to the PMC, pollen mother cells, or the MMCs, micro mother cells, or the sporogenous tissues. The sporogenous tissues are the tissues inside the microsporangium. The tapetum is secretory in nature. It produces a chemical named sporopollenin, which is used to form exine. We'll take a further look at exine and exactly study what it is. Here, as we can see, uh, the pollen grain has the outer layer, which is known as the exine, which is formed due to sporopollenin, by the secretion of sporopollenin by the tapetum. The inner layer of the pollen grain is the intine, and the space between here is known as the germ pore. The bigger part of the majority part of the pollen grain is known as the vegetative cell or the tube cell, and the smaller part of the pollen grain is known as the generative cell. This two-celled pollen grain. the function of vegetative cell or the tube cell is to provide nourishment or growth of the generative cell, and the tube cell helps in the growth of the pollen tube, whereas generative cell does the most important work, which is to generate male gametes. The intine is made up of cellulose and pectin. Uh, and pectin. Every spore will undergo mitosis 2 times to give 8 male gametes. The characteristic feature of dicots, they have 3 germ pores. That's why they are known and therefore they are known as triporate. uh, the monocots have one germ pore, that and hence they are known as uniporate. The pollen grains may have a spinous exine, which simply helps in the ease and to ease for the grain to easily stick onto the carriers, which are insects, etc. Now we'll take a look further at the breaking of the anther and the pollen grain sticking onto the surface of the female part or the stigma. Uh, Breaking of the anther or release of pollen grains is known as dehiscence. In two-cell stage, we release pollen grains. Now let's take a look at how the male gametes are formed. It is a three-cell staged. It occurs in three-cell staged. First, we'll take a look at here. This is the pollen grain. It has a vegetative cell and the generative cell. The second step we'll see when the pollen grain sits on the stigma. On the surface of the stigma, it absorbs the secretion from the stigma, which is the secretion. It absorbs that, and then it starts to form a pollen tube. With the first cell in the pollen tube is the vegetative cell, and uh, and when it comes down to the style, it starts growing in the pollen tube starts growing in the style, and the vegetative cell is also known as tube nucleus because it is in the pollen tube. And then the vegetative cell degenerates because it has finished its work, it's done its work. And then the generative cell, the two cells over here, they slowly go into the pollen tube, and they divide into they are two male gametes. Uh, as you can see here, generative nucleus will divide into two gametes. As we said further, they do the most important work. They generate the two male gametes. For extra information, in 60% of the plant, mitosis of generative cell occurs after pollen grain sits on the stigma, and in 40% of the plant's, mitosis of generative cell occurs when the pollen grain is still in the anther. Now, let us take a look at the female part and let us summarize that. The female part consists of the gynosium, which is the reproductive part of the female thing. The gynosium is a reproductive wall of the female part. Its individual members is carpel or the pistil. The carpel or the pistil is consists of ovule, and ovule is an equivalent term to stamen. Sorry, equivalent ovule is the equivalent term to anther. Ovule has integumented megasporangium or integument nucleus. Its megasporangium is also known as nucellus. First, we saw that anther has microsporangium, whereas ovule has megasporangium. It is also known as the megasporangium or the nucleus produces megaspore mother cells, MMC. They are diploid in nature. and it is produced through megasporogenesis. We'll take a look further how the megasporangium occurs. For now, we will see the structure of ovary and ovule. The ovary has the placenta, funicle, and ovule. The small portion over here is known as the ovule. If the funicle is absent in the ovary, it is known as sessile ovule, and if the funicle is present, it is known as funiculated ovule. So here, this is the funiculated ovule. The typical ovule looks like this. It consists of megaspore mother cells. They are diploid in nature, and the this whole structure is known as nucellus or megasporangium. Megasporangium is the house for MMC. Ovule has only one megasporangium, whereas before we saw that anther had four microsporangium, whereas ovule has only one megasporangium. Whereas but there are numerous MMCs, megaspore mother cells, but there is only one megasporangium or the nucellus. Now we'll take further look at the types of ovules. As you can see here, there are three types of ovules: orthotropous, hemitropous, and anatropous. Orthotropous is in straight line to the funicle. This is the chalazal part. This is the micropyle. This entire thing, this green part is known as the nucellus, and the base of the ovule is known as funicle, but the part that connects the chalaza and the funicle is known as hilum. This is the outer integument of the ovule, and this is the inner integument. This is the inner integument. This red line is the inner integument, and this is the outer one is the outer integument. The white one is the outer integument. And now we'll further move to the second type of ovule, which is the hemitropous ovule, which is 90 degree to the funicle. It is also known. It is the chalazal part and the micropyle. As you can see here, it is exactly 90 degree. It is turned around to form a 90 degree angle, whereas anatropous is 180 degree. It is completely turned around, upside down. The micropylar end is on the in here, and the chalazal pole is over here, whereas in the orthotropous we saw that the upper part was the micropylar and the chalazal was the lower part, but it has been turned around and 80 degree. So now the micropyle is the lower part and the chalazal is the upper part. It is known as anatropous. So we saw that there are three types of ovules: orthotropous, hemitropous, and anatropous. Now let us move to the production of the now let us move to the production of the mega mother cells. The mega mother cells are one of the MMC. As you can see here, these are the MMCs. This is the inner integument and the outer integument. This is the chalazal part, and this is the micropyle part. Micropylar end. The only one of the MMCs towards the micropylar end differentiates to undergo meiosis. So there are many MMCs, but only one of them, and that too from the micropylar end, will undergo meiosis. Now let us further see what happens. These the single MMC will further go meiosis and will give us 4 haploid cells. This will be converted into 4 haploid cells by meiosis. And we are studying megasporogenesis, the production of MMC, mega mother cells. Okay, and the now we have 4 haploid cells, and the cell on the chalazal part will survive and the other 3 will degenerate. The order is always the same. The first one survives and the other 3 will degenerate. It degenerates because the other 3 degenerate to provide nutrition. They have to devote their nutrition for the growth of the one that survives. Now we'll further move to the mitosis one. This one cell that the one cell that remains will further divide into 2. They will both go on the uh, opposite side of the megasporangium by mitosis, and those 2 will divide into 4, as we can see here, and those 4 will divide into 8 on the opposite ends, 4 on the upper side and 4 on the lower side, and they will and then the mitosis ends, and one and then one cell from both the ends, we will bring them to the center. One nucleus from the each end will bring to the center, and to the center we'll further see what are these parts. Yeah let's take a closer look at the uh, let us nucellus. This outer part is, this whole thing is the nucellus. The inner thing is the embryo sac, and these upper 3 nucleus are the antipodals. This is the chalazal part, and the nucleus on the upper part is known as the antipodals, while this middle one, this middle one, the one that I colored, this middle one, sorry, the green one is the female gamete, while the other 2 around the female gamete are known as synergid. Antipodals do not have any function; they will degenerate. While the these 2 cells are known, these 2 nuclei are known as polar nucleids. They are haploid in nature, and we are only seeing here the embryo sac, and they will fuse and they'll form a secondary nucleus which is diploid in nature. Just before the fertilization, 2 polar nuclei, these 2 polar nuclei will fuse and form diploid nucleus, which is known as secondary nucleus. Okay, now when the anther produces the pollen grain, and it with the by dehiscence, it releases the pollen grain and it sticks on the stigma. It has to enter the ovule. Now there are 3 ways. We can enter the ovule. If the pollen tube is entering through the ovule, through the micropyle, it is known as porogamy. If it enters through the micropyle, it is known as porogamy. If it enters through the micropyle, it is known as porogamy. If the pollen tube is entering embryo sac through the integument, it is known as mesogamy. If it enters through the if it enters through the integument, here is the integument. It passes through the integument, then it is known as mesogamy. And if the pollen tube is entering from the chalaza, it is known as chalazogamy. So we saw three ways to enter the ovule or to enter the embryo sac. If the pollen tube is entering through the micropyle, through the integument, and through the chalaza. The transportation of the male gametes by pollen tube to the ovule is known as syphinogamy. The transportation of here, these convert into male gametes and this further go into the embryo sac. These transportation by which the pollen tube carries the male gametes is known as syphinogamy. Now let us take a look at double fertilization. Double fertilization has two processes, syngamy and triple fusion. When the pollen tube enters with the two male gametes will enter synergid. When the pollen tube finally reaches the ovule, the embryo sac, it has to pass through the synergid, and when it does that, when it passes through the synergid, it secretes, it absorbs all the secretion from the synergid, and it will degenerate the synergid and burst open and release the male gametes simultaneously. It does what? It releases, due to the absorption of the secretion, it bursts open and the synergid degenerates. Both of them happen at the same time. Now let us take a look at here. This is the secondary nucleus, which is diploid. These are the two male gametes. Now we saw further that how these enter here and the pollen tube bursts and all of that. And these two male gametes fuse differently. The one of the male gametes will fuse with the female gamete, the middle one, the female gamete. These both will fuse and it will form zygote, which is known as syngamy. One of the male gametes fuses with the female gamete, which is known as syngamy, and the product of syngamy is the zygote. And the other male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus. Male gametes are haploid, therefore, and this is diploid. Therefore, the product is triploid, and therefore it is known as triple fusion. Let us revise. When two male gametes are released into the embryo sac, one of the male gamete fuses with the female gamete and they form a zygote. The process is known as syngamy. Whereas the other male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus, which is a diploid nucleus, and the male gamete is a haploid nucleus. When they both fuse together, it gives a triploid product, and therefore it is known as triple fusion. The products of double fertilization are the syngamy gives zygote and the triple fusion gives primary endosperm cell, PEN. The PEC consists of PEN. PEN is inside the PEC. That is, primary endosperm cell consists of primary endosperm nucleus. We'll take a further look at post-fertilization events. PEC and PEN combine and they form endosperm, whereas the zygote forms embryo. These are the post-fertilization events. Thank you.